Whenever I went to school, I didn't really get on at school. I was one of those people that just me and school didn't mix with. I managed to leave school without any qualifications, which is never really a good thing. It just wouldn't compute in my head. And I started to realise I think differently than everyone else about numbers. I never knew that you could be dyslexic with numbers. I hadn't heard of dyspraxia. My first year being self-employed, I made the classic mistake of not charging enough. You have a mindset that you think people will not pay that. The first year it went from 1,000 to 17,000 in a year, but that was the COVID effect. It just totally blew up on me, and then I seen an opportunity. So this year I'm not going to be taking on any new customers. Anybody fills in my form, I'll have to just say, look, I'm sorry, we're not taking on any new customers. What up, you, and welcome to the Roots to Revenue podcast. This is a bit of a Christmas special. I have my good friend Alan Leckie with me today, and Alan is giving me some business mentoring, and we thought we'd turn the tables around and he would interview me. But before we get into that, let me tell you about the sponsor. The channel is sponsored by Jobber. Jobber is my go-to software that does all my scheduling, my invoicing, my quoting. It's really good for anyone that's really busy and wants to free up the time in the business.
Robbie, thanks very much for the invitation to come along and chat, and it's great to see your podcast. So it is, I've been watching it religiously and interested in all the people that you've had on board. It's great to see how you're investing in other people, and that was what inspired me.
It's
definitely
good.
Does.
It's good to get people from everyone from the industry, and
yes,
even like hear their stories about what it's like to work in a coalface. It actually motivates myself.
Absolutely, yeah, it definitely does, Robbie. You're very, very good natured in terms of bringing people on from all over the UK as well, which was great. It shows that you're investing in the channel.
Just to give you a bit of a tidbit behind the scenes, it was easier to get someone to come from England to do a podcast than it was to get someone here. A lot of people in Northern Ireland, you'd phone them up and say, do you want to come do a podcast? They'd be like, yeah, I'd love to do one. And then a couple of weeks later, you'd say, let's get a date in a diary. And they were like, a date? What do you mean a date? So I network with, I spend a large portion of my time networking.
Yes.
And just even networking with people in England that I know and saying, do you want to come and do a podcast? They were like, yeah. What about the flights? I was like, I'll take care of the flights. We'll get you over. We'll do the podcast. And it's worked really well. So we've just been approved for season 2. So we're going to have season 2 is going to be a good mixture. There's more people from Northern Ireland now wanting to come into it. So we're going to have a mixture of people from England and people from here.
That shows the growth in the channel. But suppose today, Robbie, so I noticed quite a bit that you were investing so much in other people and interviewing other people and letting them talk about their business. So one of the things I wanted to do today was just literally turn the tables on you. So I did. So I wanted to turn the tables on you and ask you about your business.
I'm not used to talking about myself. Usually most of my videos, it's either about lawns or it's about somebody else's business.
Yeah. Well, this would be a great opportunity to sort of showcase the man behind the business, isn't it? You know?
Let's go.
All right, okay. So tell me, Robbie, how did you get started in business yourself?
So it's a bit of a long story. I'll try and keep it short without boring you all. Whenever I went to school, I didn't really get on at school. I was one of those people that just me and school didn't mix with. I managed to leave school without any qualifications, which is never really a good thing. For a long time, I thought I was stupid. Just to mix off, I found school really frustrating, just really. And then I fell into greenkeeping by accident, and I loved it from day one.
Yes.
And I was fortunate, I did that for 20 years, and I was fortunate to have some really good bosses over the time, and they took me under their wing and taught me different things and put me through different courses and whatnot. The last course I worked at was Clandy We do a lot of filming at Clandy with Terry. Terry's been a pretty good inspiration to me, and he had an assistant, Aaron, at the time, and those two were really good. Whenever I went to Clandy, they have because they're one of the top golf clubs in Northern Ireland, Terry's a perfectionist. So you get used to working to a really high skill level. Mm-hmm. And then whenever I started working for myself, I took that with me. I'd been working as a greenkeeper for about 16 years, and although I'd done different courses, I was bored. I just woke up one day bored, and I was like, I'm going to go to my local tech and find out about doing my GCSEs. And I went up and I had a look at different courses, and I seen an HNC in business. So they've since changed it since I did it. But whenever I did it, there was an HNC in business, and then there was an HND, which was 2 years, and then the third year would have been the degree. So it's equivalent to the first year of a degree. So I did that, and that course set me free. So a lot of people say about how you can invest in yourself, should you invest in yourself, should you invest in your business. Doing that at HNC was one of the best things I've ever done, because for a long time I had the mindset that I was stupid and I couldn't do anything. But whenever I was doing the HNC, I learned something really important, and I'd never learned how to learn things. And then in the second year, I was nearly through the course and we came to accounts, and I spent hours studying it, and I couldn't get it just wouldn't compute in my head. And I started to realise I think differently than everyone else about numbers. I never knew that you could be dyslexic with numbers. I hadn't heard of dyspraxia. So I managed to get through MHN, I managed to overcome it and get through it. But then I started to realise I think differently than numbers. And then whenever you start working for yourself, you're faced with numbers every day, and then you're starting to go, I actually see myself as disabled with numbers now. It turns out I've never been tested, but I'm pretty sure that I have dyspraxia. So that's one of the reasons why then, whenever I started my own business, I started using software to manage my business, because it just made it all simple for me. And I've always just kept, so that's where my link from Jobber. I've been self-employed now for 10 years. So after I finished my HNC, then I ended up going out on my own. I always wanted to work for myself. Apparently 70% of the people that work for themselves are dyspraxia, because you think differently than everyone else, and you maybe don't fit just in that general thing that works for everyone. And I'd say as well, my years spent in greenkeeping, which I absolutely loved, there's a lot of guys who, like myself, who maybe didn't do that well in school, but are quite intelligent, that are in horticulture, that maybe don't realise. Maybe if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, I didn't do that well in school, maybe you want to have a think about, because it is a bit of a mindset change. Go back to school, try and improve it. How I started my business then, I always wanted to work for myself, and I did a lot of work with Terry inside Clannyboy and outside Clannyboy, and he taught me how to do the lawn treatments. So then after I finished my course, then I went self-employed. And it's like whenever you start, I started up on a shoestring.
But I want to sort of go back a little bit there, if you don't mind. I'm gonna touch on a couple of things there that you said, which was really interesting. It revealed a lot about you there. You were at school, and you mentioned the Mitch word there. You mitched off in school.
Bucked off. I was never there.
So you found school frustrating?
Yeah, really, really frustrating.
Okay. And the interesting thing about that, Robbie, is that schools tend to try and fit us into these wee boxes whereby they expect us to do what they want. And we're missing lots of people there that have a different way of thinking, that like you had a different way of thinking, you had a different way of looking at things, but you're very successful people. You mentioned that you felt stupid. Was that ever said to you by a teacher or anything?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. As a kid growing up in the 80s, Northern Ireland was a totally different place back then.
Yes. And the thing about it is, Robbie, what tends to happen is that, and you'll know this yourself, whenever people tell you something, you start to believe it.
You carry that with you. Yeah.
So you obviously you've a great dynamic about you, and it just showed you that in later life, you flipped then to going back to college and studying in HNC.
Yeah.
Tell me about the challenge of that. Of actually having to go back as an adult learner and to learn something.
And the first night in the canteen, everybody's introducing themselves and they're sitting down and they're talking about their qualifications, and they're like, Robbie, what have you got now? Now I did have my MBQs, and somebody said, what GCSE? I don't have any GCSEs, and there was boys that laughed at me.
Yes.
But they didn't finish the course and I did. So read into that what you want, but getting that HNC just totally flipped. It totally flipped how I thought about myself, and it really set me free. And it just, now I'm never ever going to win Mensa.
You don't know, Robbie. Maybe.
I'm never ever going to win Mensa. I'm never ever going to go mastermind, because my mind doesn't work like that. But I'm not as stupid as what I gave myself credit for. But I use that. That's what drives me, because
Yes.
every day I always want to prove myself wrong. Since then, I've always gone, let's see what we can do today.
So there's a drive and a determination there.
Aye, yep, 100%.
And you've proven that.
Aye, 100%.
And you've almost gone against everything that was in your background, in terms of teachers putting us down and people writing us off because we don't hit those educational standards. But you're a complete expression of, if you have the drive and determination, you can achieve anything.
100%.
So that tells me then that in terms of starting a business, it's something that anybody could do.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody can start a business, but I think where a lot of people fall down is whenever they start a business, then they think all that money that comes in, it all belongs to them. And that's where most businesses, I think, fail, because then they don't set enough aside for their expenses and whatnot. My first year being self-employed, I made the classic mistake of not charging enough. You have a mindset that you think people will not pay that because you don't fully appreciate the expenses that are going to be in your business.
And that sort of brings me to another question in terms of in around some of the mistakes that you've made, that you've learned from. Would you say then that what are those key mistakes that you have actually done during your time starting up the business, and what did you learn from them? You mentioned the cash flow thing there. Obviously, cash flow is king for small businesses.
Yeah, not charging enough, I suppose, is a real classic mistake, and that was something that definitely you need to charge it, because if you're not charging enough, then you can't reach the right customer because you don't have the money to spend on advertising. So whenever we first started up, we used flyers, but family, friends, myself, we spent hours, days pounding the streets. Flyers are really, if you're starting a business and you don't have any money, flyers are really good because they're cheap to produce, and if you have a lot of time to put them out. But even as the business then get going, I'd always kept a good handful in the van. So if you do some advertising, or if somebody picks up the phone and they live a few miles away from you, or however distance, you're going to be driving there to do their house. So we call it clover leafing, but don't just do it once, because a lot of people will see a flyer and then throw it in the bin. But if they constantly see the flyer, they'll start to go, all right. So anytime we would go to a customer's house and we didn't have anything else in the area, we would flyer round their houses, but we'd do that in every visit. Try and make an effort and do that in every visit. And before you know it, you have 3 or 4 houses on that street or on that road, and then all of a sudden people are seeing your van and they're seeing you, and then that's how you grow. That's an easy way to grow around. Again, I suppose another thing that I really fell down with whenever I first started, I'd have driven halfway around the world to do a job. So I might have driven, 20 miles in one direction and 10 miles in another and 10 miles in another, especially lawn care. Lawn care is all about root density. The closer you can keep those houses together, the better. At the start, I just had the general hedge cutting, the lawn treatments, the grass cutting, and I would have gone here, there, and everywhere for it. Like I was driving miles to do small jobs, and then I was driving miles to the next job. And then as your business starts to grow, then you start to see different avenues. So I used to do a lot of soft washing, used to do a lot of driveway cleaning. They were good upsells. But again, to get those customers, you had to spend a lot in advertising. So then I was looking at maybe the Newton Abbey In Touch, for anyone watching that doesn't know what that is. That's like a little free ads for free, where the business pays to put the thing in. And typically it's a little flyer, and it has maybe 100 businesses in it. And it goes through letterboxes, maybe into 16,000 different homes. And then you just buy. So it really lets you segment your area. But you end up thinking, I cover all these different areas. It's maybe only £100 or £150 an advert, but you're maybe doing 3 or 4. If you just do it once, it's not good enough. People need to see that reoccurrence. So again, you're advertising maybe 6 months in a row to get that phone to ring. So it was always just weighing up what works and what doesn't work. The driveway cleaning, the soft washing, there was really good money in it, but you were paying for the advertising as well.
We'll come back to those couple of things,
Yep.
Robbie, because those are two areas that we definitely want to talk on. So you've got the growth strategy there in terms of how you grow your business, and then you've got the marketing strategy in terms of how you advertise your business to help it to grow. But what I'm really keen to know is, you obviously started off as a solo entrepreneur when you went out on your own to do the grass cutting, and as you said, you did the washing and the soft washing and the power washing, and you tried a number of different things.
Yeah, really, like the lawn treatments. Really, the lawn treatments and the general gardening was always the main focus.
You obviously started off with that as a solo entrepreneur yourself. What then flipped you into then changing it from being a solo entrepreneur into becoming a small business owner, where you were employing staff and you were using technology much more, and really thinking about making that transition from just being sort of self-employed to creating a business that was actually going to generate you funds on an ongoing basis, and something that would add value to you over the period of your life?
I think a lot of people just, while we're touching that subject, because I know you've said to me in the past, what makes you a business, what makes you self-employed? There's a lot of self-employed people out there who would class themselves as a business but not really fully appreciate that they're self-employed, and the difference being self-employed and a business would be if you have staff. That would be a pretty fair switch over. I think most guys, after 2 or 3 years, you get the stage where you can either carry on yourself, but what happens if you get sick or you get ill or something happens to you and you can't work, then your income just goes straight down. There's no safety net. Employing staff is a must, and plus it just gets to the stage where you need someone. Getting your first employees, pretty tricky. I've been really fortunate in the past. I've had lots of really good employees. But whenever I first started, I maybe didn't have enough work to keep them in the winter. And they've left under their own volition. They've seen it coming and they've gone, well, maybe time to go. And then every year you're at the stage where you're bringing on someone in the spring, you're training them up. It takes 3 or 4 months to train someone the way, get someone to work the way I want them to work. They're leaving, come whenever it starts to get quiet again. And that's really soul destroying as a small business owner or as a self-employed person. It's really frustrating. So then I went down the road of apprentices. So apprentice is really good. That I would encourage anyone that wants to take on their first employee to have a look at apprentices. Fair enough, they don't do the same amount of work that somebody older would do, but it could be extremely rewarding bringing on a young lad and training them up. And then I was fortunate enough just to get myself into a position then where I could take on an employee full time. I think the employee staff, it's less about being able to do the job because you can train people to do our job. It's all about attitude for employees. We can train people up. As long as somebody has a good attitude, then they can definitely be a good asset to me. These days I would go for experience less and attitude more. I think that's more important than anything. At the end of the day, I want to look after my employees when them employees look after the customers. And it's just one big circle. I just say there's a big circle.
Yeah, hire for attitude, train for success.
Yep, that's it.
Is an old saying. Hire for attitude, train for success. Tell me then, we talked a little bit about, and you mentioned it earlier on, you talked about some of your growth strategies, and you said that you had started off doing the lawn care and the lawn treatments, and then you diversified a little bit into doing the washing, the soft washing and the power washing. Tell me about some of the growth strategies that you have used.
Again, having employees and generating enough money for those employees, that's whenever I started to niche down into the soft washing and the driveway cleaning, because there's better money in that. There's a lot better money in power washing the driveway than there is, for example, cutting the hedge. I had, and around the same time, I had started to try and make videos. So one of a job I came up with in the winter that we could do for customers is gutter cleaning. Not getting ladders, because ladders is no good. So we got a vacuum cleaner and we can clean gutters from the ground. That was a good bolt-on to sell to existing customers. So I made a wee video to promote it, and that video was terrible. So I watched a few videos of making videos, and it just says you have to just make them and accept that they're going to be bad and they'll improve with time. And that's true. Each video gets incrementally better than the one before it. And that's always been the way.
You've demonstrated that you're really, really good at observing what needs to happen. So you quickly picked up that you're a service-based business. Service-based in that you're looking after the lawn cares, but you're actually calling with these customers who have a number of other needs as well.
Yeah.
So you identified that they had those needs, and then you diversified. So part of your growth strategy was diversification with your customer base.
I'm a great believer in whenever you have your customers, if you have a good base of customers, of selling more services to those customers. I've always focused on that. Instead of looking for more customers, I've always looked to sell more services to the same customers.
Brilliant. And that demonstrates real strength of character in terms of yours, but also that you were able to focus in on providing services to your customers and keeping the customer happy, which is what everybody tells us in business. Keep the customer happy and they keep coming back, isn't that what they say?
Yeah. Something else you were saying, whenever I first started, networking's always really good to find new work. And a local landscaper who does really high-end properties, he brought me into a garden. This was 10 years ago, and the fella had spent £100,000 on his garden. He just wanted someone to be able to look after the lawn. So that landscaper, Trevor Ford Landscaping, he referred me to a lot of his high-end customers. So right at the very start, I got a lot of really good customers. And that was good for me as well. And then again, you can upsell those customers. Other things like the driveway cleaning, the patio, soft washing, whatnot, all different bits and bobs. But yeah, just always try and sell more services to the same customers.
Brilliant. So that leads me nicely on to my next question, which is really, what marketing strategies have you used? So you mentioned earlier on that one of your marketing strategies was the print media, the flyers. Then you mentioned going into producing little videos and stuff like that. And then you mentioned networking. Tell me about those different areas, and which one of them you found maybe the most successful, and which one of them you've had to work at a little bit more.
As the business has changed, it's changed with it. The flyers were really good at the start because you're time rich and you're cash poor. And then as you start to get more money, then you're doing paid advertising. That might be the ads for free. Then whenever you're wanting to be very specific about, say, lawn treatments or soft washing or driveway cleaning, Google ads, but that could be very expensive. Then you start to do more social media. Networking's good as well because you can find people that, like Trevor, he just wanted somebody that he could recommend that would do a good job. Trevor actually introduced me to something that I use quite often now, and I call it the circle of trust. I have a list of tradesmen that I recommend for different jobs. I don't take any cut from it. It's not, if you use, somebody says to me, do you know a landscaper, or do you know a roofer, do you know a spark? I'd say, yes, I know the very boy for you. I don't take a cut of that. But he'll go and do a good job. And at some stage in the future, he'll then recommend me. The referrals are the best customers, and tends to be, if somebody refers you, they tend to stay with you for a long time. It's come from a place of trust usually. The networking really feeds into that. Now, some people don't recommend me, and that's fine. But I'm happy to recommend, because then it keeps that customer in your circle. Keeps the customer in your circle, because if you're recommending someone, because they might come in, they might not have anyone else to recommend, or you might say, I don't know anyone, and they'll go out and find someone, and then before you know it, they're in their circle, and you might lose them. Have a list of different people who can recommend different jobs too, and very occasionally those jobs come back to me. So
would you say then that networking has been your most successful marketing strategy?
Networking referrals is really, really big. As my business grew, then I joined the UK Lawn Care Association. They've been really useful in giving me tips on how to grow my business, plus how to hire staff. They have a group, and then they have occasional group get-togethers once or twice a year. Going to those things, and why you might not learn that much there, it's all about having FaceTime, chewing the fat with people. And then whenever you have an issue, or they have an issue, they can pick up the phone, or I can pick up the phone and say, look, John, having a bit of trouble with this, how would you deal with that? And even that in itself is amazing. As your business grows, you want to try and get involved in associations or trade bodies for your own business, whatever that niche may be.
Yeah, that's a great way of, whenever your business is established, it's a great way of actually both networking, but also then having that support to keep you growing and growing with knowledge and information.
Being self-employed or running a small business, it can be lonely. There's lots of other people that are exactly the same boat as you, will understand the issues that you might be facing at that particular time.
Okay, so Robbie, we're talking a little bit about the different marketing strategies that you have used, and you mentioned creating videos. What sort of made that transition in your head to actually then starting to create videos and using that as a marketing tool?
Whenever I made my first video about the gutter cleaning, I didn't know anything about cameras. Before I started YouTube, I didn't know anything about cameras. Still don't really know anything about cameras. But I made the video, and in my head it wasn't very good, and I wanted to make the videos better. And at the same time, I was on YouTube, and I seen that there was other guys on there. I started making my videos, and then we were nearly making videos to network with each other. And I was making videos, and the first load of videos were really aimed at other gardeners like myself, just making content just because I wanted to make the videos better. And then I found that I really enjoyed doing it, because I enjoy learning new things. Every day I want to learn something new. So I really enjoyed learning new things, and the videos really helped with that. So then whenever COVID came along, what had actually happened, a lot of people started asking me questions about their lawn, how to get better. A lot of people all of a sudden trapped in their houses, and lots of people asking me about their lawn. So we started making videos just to answer those questions. And then before I knew it, in my first year, it took 14 months to get 1,000 subscribers, and then in the first year it went from 1,000 to 17,000 in a year. But that was the COVID effect. It just totally blew up on me, and then I seen an opportunity, and I started to make more and more videos.
So you were able to pivot your business during a crisis period. Obviously, there was no work. We were all locked in our homes and we couldn't go out. And if you remember that particular time, it was like the best weather we've ever had in Northern Ireland in years. And then all of a sudden, we were all in our backyard and going, oh, look at the state of my lawn here. So they were reaching out to you. And you were able to pivot your business at a period whenever you weren't able to actually get out there and do any work. From doing that then to utilising your time to actually creating videos. And then, as you said, you blew up. So in making that pivot then from the traditional lawn care business and providing services to home to now creating content for online use, that obviously must have been quite a challenge, Robbie.
I have a face for radio. I always wonder if I was a good-looking fella, but I have more views. But no, for the first while, I couldn't get in front of the camera at all. I was really, really nervous, and I was going to talk about something here, so I didn't have the self-confidence. And one of my customers, he is a hypnotist, and he says to me, "John, I'll give you some tips." We did a bit of a trade swap. But see, just sitting down with someone, talking through having just a conversation with someone, and he was like, look, just put stuff down in bullet points, what you want to talk about. Another tip he gave me, which was really good, go down into your local park and get your camera out on your phone and just walk around and talk to it. It doesn't matter if you're talking about anything. You don't need to talk about, you can talk about what you're doing for your shopping list. But just, it gets you used to talking to the camera in public, and you find that no one pays you any. Does somebody might go, yeah, but then they don't pay you any more attention, and then you suddenly realise, actually, maybe I can do this, and then that's how I started to get the confidence to get in front of the camera. But as I say, I have a face for radio.
So it's quite interesting now. You've made a pivotal switch from being service provided to homes to now actually creating content for YouTube. You're now creating the videos and they're gaining traction. You're seeing your channel grow, and now you're diversifying into a completely different market here. You still got the same niche, which is the lawn care business.
The lawn care is always going to be there.
So we've got the lawn care business, and now you're using a different medium to talk about the lawn care business, and you're helping people actually that you're not in a position. So you've increased your reach from being in Northern Ireland and doing that to actually now expanding into the whole of Europe, Ireland.
I'm going to give my dad a wee shout out because he does every single video. Whenever I started making videos, I didn't have a clue how to collect audio. So video obviously has two really important key components, video and sound. People will forgive you for bad sound, for bad visuals, but see if the sound's terrible, they'll leave. So I wasn't any good at collecting the sound at the start. So a lot of people, especially English folks, couldn't understand me. So we had to start putting English subtitles onto all the videos. So I used to do that myself, but me being pretty dyslexic, I found it hard going. So he stepped in and he said he would do it, and he does every single video now, which is brilliant. We worked out then how to put the videos into different subtitles. So the videos now go in 10 different languages, and they're watched in over 100 countries worldwide. So I joke that no one gets to escape my videos.
Brilliant. Isn't that fabulous how someone, if we think about that your journey from failed school, which you said you failed in school.
Yeah. We fell at left school with no qualifications, all of a sudden gets millions of views and
worldwide. It's not amazing. That just shows you what mindset can do, Robbie, and in terms of your mindset and your determination to actually prove everyone else wrong.
I'm never trying to prove everyone else wrong. I'm always trying to prove myself wrong.
So that's a real mindset. Yeah. So you're actually working for yourself here. It's about you.
Yeah, it's always for me.
Yeah, obviously you're doing the videos, and the videos are growing really, really rapidly, and you're getting a massive audience. What then created that jump then into creating a podcast channel and talking about reach to business, which is a little bit of a diversification from talking about lawn care, but you're now talking about business and helping business people to grow?
If I go right back to the start of how I made the videos, I was making videos and I was really using it as like a tool to network with other gardeners, and it was just to talk about how I ran my businesses and the challenges I faced and all that. And then as the channel started to grow and the viewership changed into homeowners and wanted to learn about their lawn, so I missed that element. Any videos I do about business on the main channel now don't really do that well because my main viewers aren't that interested in it. And I always miss that. And then I've invested quite heavily into YouTube, and I bought a lot of different tools, and we started to build the studio here that we're filming in today. And then I thought, well, I have a couple of quiet months in the winter, so I wonder could we make podcasts then? Jobber, who's actually I've been working with the longest, they were a very natural fit for me. I approached them and I said, look, would you be interested in working with me on the podcast? And they jumped at it. So I went, yep, because it'd be extremely, most podcasts that stop right away because it's really hard work. You think to yourself, oh, well, it doesn't take much to do a podcast. But even if you think, so last year or this year, this is the 19th podcast we've filmed this year. And we brought people from all over the UK and I had to pay for flights and bring them over and entertain them and what have you. So even that in itself is expensive, and then editing them, the time it takes to edit them, the time it takes to break them up, and it's just, there's an awful lot of work to it. I would say the podcast is a business in itself. So really, I have my lawn care business, I have my video business, and now the podcast is, I look at the podcast as a third business now. Because the amount of work that it takes, is just scary. If it told me the amount of work it was going to take, I probably wouldn't have started it. but here we are, and it's going well for me. I really enjoy doing it, and I get to meet loads of really interesting people, and even that in itself, that drives, because I'm always, anytime I interview someone, I'm learning a lot from them. When I'm learning, and then I'm taking stuff that they've maybe told me, and I'm implementing that in my own business.
Yes. So it's a channel for marketing.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're learning from other, as you said, small business owners, and then you're taking that and using it into your own business. So it's a support network, it's the networking, it's this growth mindset that you have. You've got a growth mindset that's obvious in terms of everything that you've done throughout your life. You're always growth focused, which is great. So that brings me on to what's next for Robbie.
I'm going to say, let me see, 20 to 25. We took the phone numbers off. The website a couple of years ago. So this is something else we're going to talk about. Last year, I took the phone numbers off the website because a lot of people would watch the videos, and then they'd be like, they'd phone you up. And it used to say anywhere you see my number, it used to be, so it's a double-edged sword having a YouTube channel. They'd see that number and they'd phone you up, and you'd be like, this line for business line only, are you looking for a quote? And they'd be like, oh no, I just have a wee question about video. You're like, leave the comments on the videos and we'll answer them as soon as we can. No, I just have a question, yada yada yada. And I got to the stage where we couldn't pick up the phones, so I had to take the phone numbers off the website. But then this year in 2024, I really struggled to see any new customers because the videos are really, like I say, everyone's just so time consuming. Being self-employed before, but if you're employed, you're working 40 hours a week these days. 60 hours is nothing to work. Being self-employed, especially trying to do videos, podcasts, everything that goes with it. So this year, I'm not going to be taking on any new customers. I'm just going to have to, a jobber has an autoresponder on it. Anybody fills in my form, I'll have to just say, look, I'm sorry, we're not taking on any new customers. I'm going to leave that get in touch quote there, because the odd customer, there might be somebody that I can't turn down. Because every now and again, a really good customer comes along that you'd be mad to turn down. Generally, I don't want to take on any new customers. I just want to focus on the videos and growing that.
The future for 2025 and beyond at the minute is to focus in on creating more content for YouTube and then creating the podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just want to grow. I just want to grow the video side of things. I really enjoy that. I'm not getting any younger. I'm not getting any younger, but the lawn treatments is always going to be there because we take a lot of content from there.
So, Robbie, we were talking about systems and processes there and setting up in business, and the transition you made from being self-employed into becoming a business owner. So, obviously, that included recruiting staff. What are some of the tools that you started to use whenever you made that transition from being a solo entrepreneur then to a business? You've mentioned Jobber in the past, but tell me a little bit about Jobber and what they do, what that does for you and how it helps you.
Jobber is the backbone of my business, I feel like. Does all my scheduling, my invoicing, my quoting. Even whenever customers, like I said, took the phone numbers off my website, but there's a box there, get in touch. So whenever somebody clicks that, it starts what I call it the customer journey. Jobber is really, really smooth. So somebody fills that in and I have a questionnaire so that I can figure out whether or not I want to, because most customers are turned down. I figure out if they're a good fit for me. They also get an email to say that's been received. Then it creates it's a CRM, so it creates a little bit about them. I capture their name, address, all the information I want from them. Then I'll phone them up and I'll say, John, I'm going to come out and see you to do a quote. before I come, I'll send them a reminder, letting them know I'm coming. If, say, I've got 3 or 4 quotes on that day, I'll send them a message from the app. I'm 15 minutes away, I'm half an hour away, they know I'm coming. So even before they've met me, they've seen my videos. Chances are they've seen my videos. And then they've had a good email chain before they've even met me. And I've already sold myself to them before they open that door. They're ready. So we'll go out, I'll do a quote. Because of the way I think about numbers, I'd never given somebody, I'd never said to you, it'll be £100 to do your lawn. I've always said, I'll send you a quote. Customers like that anyway. So they can then approve that quote online. I'll get a little thing to say they have approved it. Within a couple of clicks, I can turn that into a job. I can make the job a one-off job, recurring, how often I want it to come. I can request their card and file, which is really good for some services. So all our grass cutting, we have a card and file. Whenever Jason goes to do the work, he marks that job complete. The system takes payment. A few days later, the money's in my account. Customers love it because it's convenient. They don't have to worry about it. So most customers pay me online via Stripe. So Stripe's baked into it. Something that's really good with Jobber. Anything new that comes to things, they were on the ball with Stripe years ago. So Stripe's far and away the most popular way people pay me. I like it too because it looks after it all. If a customer's late in paying me, it'll send them reminders to say your invoice is overdue. You can also do that with quotes. If you send a quote to someone and they don't come back to you, Jobber will chase that up. There's so many things in your business that can be automated that you probably haven't thought of, and it frees you up. It just frees your time up. We go and do the job, and then Jobber does the rest. So that's why I really like it. Now they're starting to build in, they've started to build in marketing tools. So if you use MailChimp, you can take your customers directly from, and you can segment your customers, and you can send them different mail shots directly from within the software that asks customers for reviews. So something that's doing this here, and Jason's absolutely loving it. A little tip. So I'll send a certain amount of reminders to customers to leave a review. Now I have something, this was something that Jobber recommended, to ask, Jason gets a £10 tip anytime his name is mentioned in a review. You don't want people to leave just a 5-star review. If you send a review online and it says, oh, this company did a wonderful job, 5 stars, but if you send a review and you say, Robbie and Jason came out and they did a wonderful job, or Jason looks after me on a fantastic way, suddenly that's personal. So he gets a little tip from that, and then I get really good reviews. I found that it's a good way to incentivize a customer to leave you a review, because they know that employee is going to get a bonus from it, and it doesn't cost them anything. So that's really good. So Jobber just frees up loads and loads of time. That's all Jobber does. It just frees up time. So if you're a busy business owner and you're struggling with time, and then just the scheduling as well, so I can see all my jobs in the day, and Jason can see all his jobs in the day. I track my expenses through it. At the end of the year, then I give those expenses to my accountant, and he does my books. I know a lot of people would use QuickBooks, but I'd prefer just to have, for me, it's all in one place, and then the accountant has access to that. It's easy for me. I don't have to worry about the numbers, because if you give me numbers, I'm gone.
Yeah, so it's basically an all-in-one platform.
It's an all-in-one platform. It does everything now.
Yeah,
it does everything. And it just means we go and do the job. The customer, loads and loads of customers comment on how smooth it is. Loads of customers like, Robbie, that system you have is brilliant.
And that's obviously building that loyalty with your customers as well. And,
yep.
and it's demonstrating your professionalism. So it's lifting you up from being the runabout man in the job, just nipping in and cutting grass, to being a professional business. It demonstrates your professionalism as well. So, Robbie, we've been talking a lot about you and your business, and how you've tracked your business with your growth mindset over the years. But I want to know a wee bit about the man behind the business. What makes you tick? What are the things that you're interested in doing outside of the business? Now, obviously, you spend a lot of time in the business, and you're very creative in terms of, you've got your lawn care business and your service business to your household. You've flipped into doing the videos, and you're now doing the podcast. So that tells me that you've got a very active mind. What do you do to relax, Robbie?
I like gaming. I like PC gaming. So I'm a bit of a tech buff. So I suppose that's a game where I'm good with everything else, and I'm good with videos and stuff. I like gaming. I like to spend time with the wife and my dog Bella, going for walks, holidays, and Like going for a nice meal and a bottle of wine somewhere. That's just happiness to me.
So tell me a little bit about, obviously, the key thing for being successful in business is to look after everything. So it's, as a small business owner, we're having loads of these hats to wear. So we have a hat to wear for running the business as being the CEO. We have a hat to wear for being the health and safety manager. We have a hat to wear for being the marketing manager. You have all of these different hats to wear in terms of running your business. What would you say is the most challenging part of all of that?
Finding the time.
Finding the time.
Finding the time. You can't buy time. You can't buy time. There's just not enough. There's just not enough hours in the day. You can't buy time. That's one of the biggest challenge. I need to grow the business, but I'm bursting at capacity at the minute, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm a wee bit stuck in what direction I need to go from here. I think I need to get to the stage where I need somebody that can do video editing and cameraman full time. I think that's probably the next bit to free me up, because at the minute I'm doing all the editing, all the video myself, and that's really, really time consuming. That's my biggest challenge, is time. You can't buy time.
Yeah, time's obviously precious to us all. Yep. We've all only got 365 days in a year, and we've all only got
24... I need 8 days a week.
24 hours in a day, so it's the best use of time that we obviously have, yeah. And we need to be masters of it. That requires a level of planning when making sure that we plan out for the future on a day-to-day basis. What about other aspects of your free time?
Free time? What's that? Yeah. Free time? What's that? There is no free time.
So you obviously the creativity within you to think about the different things that is happening, that has to come from somewhere.
Yep.
So you obviously must be doing some studying as well then in your free time, and spending some time studying and seeing what other businesses are doing.
I suppose it comes back to as well, a lot of people think that all my videos, I know everything I'm talking about, but I don't. A lot of my videos, we research stuff. Everything has to be researched. It's always been important to me that anything we put out is factually correct. I spend a lot of time thinking about the content that we're going to be making. Even that itself is time consuming. In a lot of ways, I spend far too long working. People don't really see the amount of time it takes to work. So if we were to make paid content for someone, that video could take a week. So you have to have the idea that what you're going to film about. If you just put the camera up and film, then nobody's going to be interested in it. There needs to be a bit of a story to it. It's going to be a day's filming. That'll be a day for me and a day for Jason, and then probably a half day reshoot to tidy up or cover stuff maybe that a brand wants you to go on. So now we're on to 4 days. Then I need to edit it and pick thumbnails, titles. That's another day, no problem. Sometimes longer. Sometimes videos can take up to 16 hours to edit, which is mental depending on the length on them. Often a video, especially a paid video, where you're going to spend a bit more time on it, can take at least a week to make. It's just, to be honest with you, it's just find time. I don't really have time for anything. It's really hard to wear a lot of hats, and I'm really struggling. And I suppose at the minute I'm really struggling. That's why bringing in the likes of yourself is really good, because you can talk through different issues and find out where you want to go.
Again, now you're in a transition period. So you can see that transition, that natural transition coming. You talked about whenever you were doing a lot of the work yourself and being self-employed, and you were making the transition into running a business and having to employ people. You're now making a transition again into having multiple businesses and multiple revenue streams. You've got your Premier Lawns business and how it's growing and being quite successful. You've got the YouTube, which is a business in itself as well, and the time it's taken to create that. And you've now got the podcasting. So you're making another transition now in terms of actually being a multiple business owner and having to balance all of the
There's a lot of hats to wear. There's a lot of hats to wear.
There's a lot of hats to wear.
I'm going to have to downsize. One of the things I'm really doing, I'm going to be downsizing Premier Lawns, the lawn treatments. It's going to still be there because a lot of the content comes from there, but we're going to be downsizing it. So as we come to the end of the podcast, I just want to thank Alan. Where can the viewers find you if they want to get in contact to find out about growing their own business?
Robbie, thanks. First of all, thanks very much for the opportunity to come and talk to you. You and I have had lots of chats this year about business and about growing our business and about diversifying. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to come along and turn the tables a little bit on you today, which I think really demonstrates some of the qualities that you have as a business owner and how you've taken it from small roots to now growing quite deep roots. So brilliant, thank you for that. I suppose if anybody wanted to contact me and wanted some help with their business, they can look me up on LinkedIn. My name's Alan Leckie, and you'll find me on LinkedIn.
We'll drop a link there.
Oh, thank you for that, Robbie.
Down
I
in the
appreciate
description.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. And again, thanks very much for the opportunity to come and talk to you, Robbie. You've got a great business here. You've got a creative brain and a creative mind, and it just shows you where someone who, as you said yourself, failed in school can actually take it and change that into being a very successful multi-business owner. So well done, Robbie.
Thanks very much.
Good man. Thank you.
Thank you. Good man. That's a wrap.